Hey everybody, Danny here, and today I'm coming at you with a solo episode. It's been a hectic week on my end, and our schedules just aren't really aligning right now. So instead of just skipping a week, I think we're going to try something different here. I'm just going to hang out with you guys for a little bit and just kind of really talk about what I've been doing lately. I've actually been in a movie grind recently. I used to always just every night would watch like a new movie and just try to keep up because I got a big collection of Blu-rays here, and it's like, okay, let's watch something every night and see if it's good or not. Was it worth the purchase? And this week, instead of checking out new ones, I decided to just rewatch a bunch of them. I had an interesting moment happen with that. So the two movies I watched back to back was The Legend of Tarzan and Hercules. And I say that's interesting because the way these movies tackle the characters. For Hercules specifically, I'm talking about the 2014 one starring The Rock. Not everyone's favorite movie, mainly because the way it was sold. The trailers back in the day, the trailers were focusing on Hercules fighting mythical creatures, doing the 12 labors he does. But then it turns out that that's not what happens in the movie at all. Going into Tarzan first and then watching Hercules was an interesting dynamic between these two characters. With The Legend of Tarzan, the story already happened, right? This is the aftermath of him finding Jane, leaving the jungle, going back to the UK or England, whatever they called it. And essentially, that movie, you are seeing Tarzan prove that he is the legend that the stories say it's all true. And, star-studded cast, just a great movie overall. I highly recommend it. So we have that aspect of here's a character who has this crazy story behind him. It's a legend. Everyone knows who he is. Well, there's a moment in the movie where Jane gets kidnapped and the villain of the movie literally says, well, he's Tarzan and you're Jane. He will get you. So it's like we have this idea of who Tarzan is. And throughout the film, we get to see that, oh, these are actually true. And we also see the reaction from the characters, understanding that, wow, the legends were real. This is Tarzan. So after watching the film, I watched Hercules next. And so that's where it gets interesting because as we go into The Rock's version of Hercules, it's very different. We have the legend of Hercules, right? In the beginning, it's the monologue of him fighting the mythical creatures, doing his 12 labors, seeing his demigod-like performances. And then we come to find out very early on that those are just tall tale stories to spread his name so that way he could be renowned, and also as like a scare tactic for people he has to fight because he's actually part of this mercenary team and he's the face of it. And it's like, oh, wow, okay, so we're going a more grounded approach of this character. And throughout the film, it's mostly just him training this army so that way they can go stop this other army and save the country, save all these villages, what have you. A very classic, simple tale. He is super strong, well-built. He has a good moral conscience, so he tries to be the hero the legends that they're spreading be, even though that they are not real, and he is not a demigod. But then at the end of the movie, we get moments where, oh, maybe he really is the son of Zeus by the crazy strong feats he's doing. So it was a very interesting dynamic to see these two characters back to back like that. It's one of those random things of just watching a bunch of films and seeing like these weird connections that they might have with each other. Now, would I recommend the 2014 Hercules? It's just a good, fun time to have it, like maybe in the background. Like some of the fights are good. It's actually The Rock before he, was being how The Rock is now in movies. Like he has to be the guy. He has to always stand out. He can't get hurt or whatever. Like in Fast and the Furious and Black Adam, like the parts where he started going downhill in films. This is kind of like right before that, but it's not like one of the best, Rock films out there, but still, it was an okay time. And speaking of Fast and the Furious, I did watch a Vin Diesel movie finally. I've owned it for a while, and the other day I had some free time, and I figured, you know what? Why don't we just put this on right now and see what we got going on? Because I know it's not a great movie. And I decided to watch The Last Witch Hunter. And, immediately the movie fools you because it's like, oh, he's like this Viking guy. He's got this crazy beard and hair. It's kind of crazy to see him with like all that. And but then like that's only for the beginning of the film, as the rest goes into just modern day Vin Diesel, bald. And it's like, oh, okay, I kind of wanted to see more of like that era, but whatever. The premise of this movie is he gets cursed by the Witch Queen and he's now immortal. And then there's this whole pact between the church and witches, to where as long as witches don't meddle with humans and like try to do stuff, the church will let them live. And when things go wrong, they send Vin Diesel as the witch hunter. And he's renowned around the underground witch society or whatever. And yeah, it's kind of like just a Vin Diesel movie. Hey, did you watch Bloodshot? It's kind of like that kind of energy. Interesting cast for sure. I think about 30 or 40 minutes into the movie, we get a witch character that ends up, working with Vin Diesel on this thing because of like the specific spells that she can cast and do. And at that point, I was like, oh, are we really getting the love interest this late into the movie? And then stuff happens. And yeah, I mean, it's okay. I don't hate the movie. If you guys know me, I kind of love bad movies. It just like, it's a very specific genre of movies that I'm like, yeah, these are bad, but at least, there's something there to it. And the thing that's there for this movie, when I was looking it up, trying to see like, man, there's got to be something like, what's the story behind this movie? And it turns out that this movie is based off of one of Vin Diesel's campaign from D&D. Okay, so he is just having fun, getting one of his campaigns to life with all the big CG stuff and getting, either his friends or a pretty big just studded cast, or just, a big cast in general. Cause yeah, Michael Caine's in here for a little bit. That was interesting. And then, and then Elijah Wood is also in this movie. He's sort of like the sidekick for a time. I'm thinking like, why is he in this movie? It's so weird. And then the love interest, I forget the actress's name, but she was the wildling that Jon Snow falls in love with in Game of Thrones. But I don't know, like there was some cool stuff in there, like some of the concept and all that. And then after learning that this is a D&D campaign, about like 3/4 in, it's like, okay, I'm starting to see what's going on. Interesting choice with like the way the Witch Queen is coming back and like the visual effects on her. I think like it's prosthetics mainly and stuff. Yeah, some cool stuff in there, but at the end of the day, again, it is a Vin Diesel movie that's not Fast and the Furious, so it can't get really far. As I also found out, they were trying to do a sequel movie and I believe a TV series. TV series got canned, and Last Witch Hunter 2 is just in limbo. I don't even know where they would go with that next, because I believe he loses his immortality at the end. Or does he keep it? I can't remember. It's been a while since I saw it, but yeah, I don't know. If you get to Last Witch Hunter 2, it'd have to go like full mythical on us. Let's go to like the witch realm or something. Go somewhere crazy that's not just, like downtown New York or wherever they were. And the last movie I saw, just to talk real quick, is The Martian. I rewatched it, and yeah, hey, still a good movie. Matt Damon does a great job. I forgot like some of the cast that was in there. It was pretty good. Totally forgot it was like a 2.5-hour film. And I also hear that the book that it's based off of is a lot better. I couldn't wait though, because I have a huge backlog. But if it's super cheap, yeah, I want to pick it up and read it. Because it's a good like sci-fi movie. It's also like, it's an isolated character, and we get to see what he has to do, all the struggles, and how he overcomes it and stuff. I like movies like that a lot. I'm very curious to see how the book handles it too, because the thing between a book and a movie is you can say a lot in a film that's not dialogue, and in a book you have to write all that out, expressions, things that they're doing, So I'm curious to see how the book handles that. So I'll get to it at some point. And then like the last thing I did was, speaking of reading manga still. Every other week, these reviews will come out, of course. Whenever I do the reviews, I want to make sure it's a manga that's worth talking about and recommending, like to get into the detail of it and stuff. And right now I have like this randomizer thing so that, because I have a huge list of manga, I just click the randomizer thing and see what pops up and I'll read it. And the thing I picked after the previous review was this series called Eat Man. And it came out mid-90s, early 2000s kind of thing. And you could really feel it. Reading it, it's like, oh, it's not that long. It's under 150 chapters. Let me check it out. Pretty big chapters, though. Pretty dense, too. And I got about maybe a quarter of the way in, and I just had to stop. I don't think, for me, it was not worth going to any further. It feels like a series that either the mangaka or a magazine said, hey, we need something else that's like Trigun, Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop, Western sci-fi thing, the lone cowboy kind of guy. And then we have the late mid-90s crazy biomechanical aesthetics going in there. And he's just a cool dude that comes into town, saves everybody, and then gets to leave. That's just kind of really how it was. The first chapter, we see that happen, right? He comes in, and it's been the same for most encounters that he goes into a new area, is that, he shows up, there's a problem. Hey, can we hire you? Your name is Bolt, right? I think it's, what do they call him? Crank Bolt, I think was his full name, which, was going to sell me in the beginning. That sounds awesome. The series is called Eat Man. He's this cool dude. But yeah, so he shows up, there's a problem. Hey, can we hire you? Actually, I already got hired by the person that's causing these problems to you, so I can't. And then later on it goes, whoops, I was just kidding. He did hire me, but somebody else hired me before that, and their thing oversees that, so I'm still going to save the day. And then he leaves an impression on the people, and most of the time it's a girl. And when I say girl, I mean a younger girl, like a teenager kind of thing. And they end up, either trying to fall in love with him or they just admire him. And then he gets to leave. And then the next chapter starts, and then that happens again. And every now and then, these gaps are big now. Every now and then, we'll sprinkle in a little bit of his past and try to figure out what's going on. And the main reason I was still reading it up until where I stopped is because, okay, we have to be getting to a big arc at some point where we get into his story, and then a real plot starts happening. But it took too long. All the chapters just feel the same and too dense. It was not worth continuing, I think. And it's kind of crazy because if you go on my anime list and look up this manga, everyone recommends it. And there's also a sequel manga. So maybe it is good. I don't know. There is an anime for it that's only I think 12 episodes. And then they did a season 2, which I think covers more, or it covers the sequel. I don't know. I just kind of took a glance. Maybe if I feel like going back, I might just watch it. It might look really cool because the way the powers work too. Oh, also just getting confused about what kind of world are we in? Is this Planet Gunsmoke? Is this just some random futuristic place that has a bunch of weird stuff? What are we talking about? Because at first we see there's fairies and stuff, and then there's the notion of, Eat Man, you have a constitution, which was alluding to what kind of power he has. It's okay, so other people have powers. No. Okay, what's happening here? And it's just, mid-90s anime. That's just the world it is. It is a cool concept for Bolt himself. So he's been experimented on from what I can tell. And the ability they gave him is that whatever he can eat anything, basically. If he eats enough of something, he can reconstruct it through his body using, biomechanical means. So that's where that crazy aesthetic comes from. So if he eats a gun, then he can pull out the gun. But he also has to eat the bullets too. And we always see him just munching on bolts and screws and stuff. And at first I'm thinking, okay, so it's just him eating that stuff and then he can construct it like alchemy. He specifically has to eat the parts of something to reconstruct it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Let's see what we can do. And yeah, it gets into some pretty crazy things. Like there was a story about these two lovers that want to escape, but their memories got wiped and stuff. And at the end, it's revealed that they were actually robots the whole time. And Bolt shoots them in the head. Wires are exposed, leading to like their brain chips or, whatever you want to call it. So he eats those and he's able to repair it in his body and put it back into the robot, and then they're fine. So there's interesting stuff like that. There's also the classic, like, oh man, who was that guy from the past? Oh wait, this guy he's wanted right now. Wait, that can't be right. Is that him? And then at the end, like, he rebuilds like the plushie or the toy or whatever that confirms that he was that person from the past. And also the idea too is that, like, I guess he doesn't age either, which is a very similar thing to Vash. I really wanted to like it, but they were long chapters, old chapters, and the plot wasn't going anywhere. So unfortunately, I just had to give it up. Kind of didn't want to, but... And other than that, I haven't caught up to any other manga, so no updates on that. I will talk about, when we all get together again, I do want to talk more about The Way of Kings. I'm still going through that book. I'm about 60% of the way through, and I know Jerry started. When we all hop back on, we're definitely going to be talking about it. Final things I'll bring up is I got to see, friend of the show, Kill Bill the Rapper from X Society, along with Rav, Square, and No One Important. They're on their tour. They're on the last few shows for the tour as this drops. Just great seeing the boys. Had a fun time. Yeah, and with that, guys, we can go ahead and wrap up here today. We're going to save the emails for when we all get back together, so if you sent any, apologies, we're going to have to get it at a later time. So, if you do have any other questions and stuff, though, unversedpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll sure to bring them up on future episodes. And I do have a recommendation. I keep saying, like, okay, I'm going to pick this one, and then more keep popping up. So I'm going to bring up the boy here. So the one I want to pick today, I found a while back, is called A Boy Who Paints on Instagram. And I found him like a few years ago, I think now. He does acrylic paint work. Basically what he does is he just paints iconic moments from like the internet, basically. So it's just a bunch of memes. And it's pretty good. The most iconic one that I saw was, of course, the metal show at Denny's in 2013. He has a bunch of good stuff on here. A lot of them, I don't know if I've ever seen them as memes or if they're just shit posts. But then he'll also paint other stuff in here as well, like portraits or just kind of really whatever he wants to do. And it's good stuff. I totally recommend it. It's a good time. And again, that is A Boy Who Paints on Instagram. I'll put the link in the description so that way you guys could check it out if you want. And that's all I got for you guys today. So thank you for listening. Again, unversedpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll bring those up on future episodes. So thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.